Sugar, the magical white powder that makes everything sweeter. From fruit to bread to sweets, sugar is used in all kinds of food and consumed by millions of people every single year. However, due to health concerns, we asked the question, should sugar be regulated like a drug? As students at Purdue University, Saksham, Marilyn, and I have done extensive research on this topic. In this presentation, we will first look at what researchers say and what their opinions are about it. Then we will look at the evidence and look at the video behind the presentation. Then finally, we will conclude. Now, here's Saksham with the body of the presentation.
Researchers at LifeScience.com say that sugar makes blood pressure and cholesterol go up, along with risk for liver failure, obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. They claim that sugar is so toxic to humans that it should be regulated like a drug. A newer report talks about a study where rats were used to monitor addictive effects of sugar. They found sugar to have weaker yet similar effects to drugs like cocaine. This study is explained further in the video. A paper by Ashley Gearhart, Michael Roberts, and Maurice Ash at Cambridge University presents evidence of the addictive potential of sugar and claims that it should be regulated by law. They also state that labeling a substance like sugar, which is essential for human survival, as addictive would greatly change how people view addiction. Let's talk about the video. Our target audience is young adults in college. To adapt the video to our audience, it is made in a conversational tone with lots of animations and graphics to keep the audience's attention. This video can be used to spread awareness and spark discussion on the topic of sugar addiction. Communication science principles used in the video include conversational tone and visual aid. Now, here is the video. Let us talk about sugar addiction. Do you know how much sugar is recommended by experts? If not, whose daily sugar recommendations may surprise you. It is a mere 6 teaspoons per day. According to Joseph Tetrano at Rutgers University, the average American consumes 17 teaspoons of sugar per day, more than 3 times whose recommended standard. This is partly due to the abundance of sugary food options in grocery stores. A single cup of low-fat vanilla yogurt by Danone has 34 grams of sugar and vitamin water has 17. However, another major cause for this excess sugar in our diets is its addictive qualities. These addictive qualities are similar, albeit weaker, than those of cocaine. Does this sound a little far-fetched? Well, let us look at a study done by Nicole M. Avena Pedrorada and Bartley G. Hobel at Princeton University. The study aimed to investigate why some people struggle to moderate sweet foods. They developed an animal model using rats to investigate this. Every day, the rats were food deprived for 12 hours. They were then given access to a sugar solution and chow for 12 hours. After a month of this schedule, the rats began to show a series of behaviors which were similar to effects of drug abuse. They began binging, that is, eating unusually large amounts. They showed opiate-like withdrawal symptoms like anxiety and depression. They also began craving sugar and showing enhanced responses to sugar. All of these are indicators of drug dependency. This raises the question, why does this happen? Addictive drugs cause repeated, intermittent increases in extracellular dopamine. Dopamine is one of the chemicals that makes us happy. This eventually changes the dopamine receptors in the body and causes them to require the dopamine increase from the drugs to make the person feel happy. This leads to the person feeling sad without said drugs. According to the researchers at Princeton University, the intermittent excessive intake of sugar can have similar effects on the mind and body of humans. Of course, these effects are much smaller in the case of sugar than, say, cocaine. As a result, researchers claim that the overall effect of these neurochemical adaptations is a mild but well defined dependency. To put it simply, many of us experience compulsive cravings for sugar because of addictions we never knew we had. Breaking these addictions is a challenge, but it is certainly doable.
In conclusion, sugar is pretty much probably the most consumed addictive substance around the world. In the United States alone, sugar consumption has increased by over 600% in the past 200 years. As a result, Americans are drifting away from local, natural, and seasonal food and are becoming addicted to highly processed foods, fast foods, and sugar in all its different forms. The result of this is a society that is dealing with many health issues like obesity, diabetes, and prediabetes. Thus, sugar consumption must be analyzed by our government and, most importantly, by the consumers. So, the next time you reach out for something to eat, ask yourself, am I hungry? Does my body need this food? Or is this a result of a craving driven by addiction? Remember, the road to sugar addiction recovery starts with acknowledging the problem and having an intense desire to make the change. Now, let us move on to the question and answer session. The first question is, what do you feel is the most common misconception about your topic and what can be done about it? Well, the most common misconception about our topic is that sugar is not a drug like alcohol or tobacco. The reason for this is purely lack of awareness about it because we have sufficient scientific evidence to prove that sugar works like a drug similar to alcohol or tobacco. If any substance produces two or three symptoms from an established list of 11 symptoms, then it can be considered as a substance of abuse. And sugar produces far more than two or three symptoms. The first symptom is craving or an intense desire to have sugar. How many times have you woken up in the middle of night to eat something sweet like ice cream? This is nothing but our body craving for sugar. The second symptom is gradual escalation in intake. An example for this would be that you decide to eat one chocolate but end up having two or more, and this number increases day by day. The third symptom is intense dopamine release in the brain. Studies have shown that fructose intake affects the dopamine system, which is the part of the brain that controls pleasure. This produces neurochemical changes in the brain, which is similar in patients consuming alcohol or tobacco. Thus, sugar can indeed be compared to drugs like alcohol and tobacco. The second question is, what other topics that did your group consider and why did you select this one? There were several other topics that we considered. The first one was that is stem cell treatment promising? Another topic was that is nanotechnology useful for medical purposes? We also thought about hacking and whether its effects are always bad. Finally, we decided to go with our topic, which is can sugar be considered as a drug? Simply because everyone is affected by sugar. We consume it in a day to day basis and never view it as a harmful substance. So we decided to go with this topic because it targets a large audience and we wish to raise awareness about this issue.
Question number 3. What was the hardest part of this project, and how did you feel your group handled it? I feel the hardest part of this project was managing everyone's schedules and try to get everyone on the same time in order to get everyone on a call. All four of us, were in 4 different time zones, meaning that it was extremely hard for us to come up with the time that we were all free. Either one of us was asleep or the other one was busy. The best way that we were able to handle this was that we were finally able to come up with a specific time every single week, once a week, which we're all available to meet up such that we can get this presentation done and not have to worry about multiple people doing it together. In addition, for the actual presentation itself, we had everyone record their parts individually and send it so that I could be edited together. Question number 4. What advice would you give other students about this project? Well, for one, I would definitely say to communicate beforehand with your group members in order to make sure that you have a specific time that you can meet up with your group members. If you don't do this, it'll be extremely hard to figure out how you're going to do your presentation. I would also recommend writing out flashcards such that you don't have to look at a piece of paper the entire time or look at another screen, so that you can look like you're actually having a conversation with the audience.
What was your individual contribution to this project and what did you learn? My individual contribution was making the entire video and narrating the body section of this presentation. I learned how to make videos to reach larger audiences and use said videos to describe scientific studies to people. If you could change one or two things about your video, what would you change and why? If I could change something about my video, I would, in hindsight, add some sort of background audio to it, maybe a background music track or sound effects for the various things happening on screen. I feel like that would make the video a lot more lively and attention grabbing than it currently is. So I hope you learned something about the hidden danger in our lives. I hope you learned something about sugar addiction.